The silver starship of the Galactic Confederation hung silently above Earth, its observation deck buzzing with activity. Senior researcher Tay stood with perfect posture, his four-fingered hands clasped behind his back as he stared at the blue planet. Humans had been spotted by their long-range scanners only 3 months ago, and the discovery had sent ripples of excitement through the scientific community. "Are the readings confirmed?" Tay asked, his voice calm despite his racing thoughts. His assistant Jin nodded, her pale blue skin reflecting the glow of the monitors. "Yes, senior researcher. These humans have developed space travel in just under 3 centuries since their industrial revolution. The speed of their advancement is unusual." Tay moved to the data console, studying the scrolling information with increasing interest. The Confederation had cataloged over 600 sentient species across the galaxy, but none had developed so quickly. Something about these humans was different. "Their physical structure appears unremarkable at first glance," Jin continued, bringing up detailed anatomical scans. "But look closer at their muscle fiber density and neural pathways. They're unlike anything in our database." Tay zoomed in on the scans, his eyes widening. "Their endurance capabilities exceed all known Class 3 species, and their adaptability to environmental changes." He paused, searching for words. "They've settled in regions ranging from near freezing to desert conditions. Most species would require significant genetic modification to manage such variety." The ship's commander, Do, joined them on the observation deck. Unlike the scientists with their flowing blue robes, he wore the crisp gray uniform of the Confederation fleet. "The Council has approved first contact," he announced. "They're sending Dr. Suk to lead the mission." Tay couldn't hide his surprise. "The senior xenobiologist herself? This is unprecedented." "These humans have sparked unusual interest," Do replied. "The Council believes they may have potential." 3 days later, Dr. Suk's shuttle descended through Earth's atmosphere, landing in a remote area chosen to minimize public awareness. A small human delegation waited on the ground, 5 scientists and 2 government representatives, all sworn to secrecy until official relations could be established. Dr. Suk emerged from the shuttle with her research team, including Tay and Jin. The humans stood very still, clearly awestruck by the alien's appearance. Dr. Suk was tall and slender, her skin a pale blue that shifted subtly with her breathing, her large eyes set wide in a narrow face. The formal greetings had barely finished when alarms blared from a nearby human structure. One of the human scientists, a woman named Elena, received an urgent message on her communication device. "There's been a collapse at the research facility 2 kilometers from here," Elena explained hurriedly. "People are trapped." Without hesitation, the human delegation split up, 2 staying with the aliens while the others rushed toward the emergency. Dr. Suk, driven by scientific curiosity, requested to observe. The humans, too distracted by the crisis to consider security protocols, agreed. At the collapsed building, Dr. Suk watched in fascination as the humans organized themselves with remarkable speed. Elena and 2 others entered the unstable structure, without protective gear. Dr. Suk scanned them discreetly with her handheld device, monitoring their vital signs. "Their stress hormones are elevated," she murmured to Tay. "Yet their decision-making remains clear. Most species experience cognitive impairment under such stress." They watched as Elena crawled into a narrow opening, disappearing from view. Minutes passed. Tay's scanner beeped urgently. "She's been injured," he whispered. "Impact trauma to her upper body. A rib has punctured her lung membrane." Dr. Suk shook her head in disbelief. "She should be incapacitated." Yet moments later, Elena emerged from the rubble carrying a small child. Her face was pale and blood stained her shirt, but she moved with determination. After handing the child to medical workers, she immediately turned back toward the building. "You require medical attention," Dr. Suk called out, breaking protocol by addressing the human directly. Elena glanced down at her injury as if noticing it for the first time. "There's another child inside," she said simply, then disappeared, back into the rubble. When she emerged again 15 minutes later with a second child, Elena finally collapsed. The medical team rushed to treat her. Dr. Suk stood motionless, her scientific mind racing. She continued functioning with injuries that would incapacitate any species we've encountered, she said quietly. The pain alone should have rendered her unconscious. Tay nodded slowly. It's not just their physical structure. There's something more. Something driving them beyond biological limitations. As they watched the humans working together to save their own, Dr. Suk made her decision. We must understand these creatures better. The Confederation needs to know what makes humans different. She turned to her team. Prepare for an extended research mission. I believe we've discovered something truly exceptional. The bright lights of the makeshift laboratory hummed softly as Dr. Suk peered through her advanced microscope. It had been 3 weeks since first contact, and the Confederation team had been given permission to establish a research facility on the outskirts of a city called Portland. Rain pattered against the windows, a constant reminder of Earth's active water cycle. Dr. Suk adjusted the settings on her microscope, focusing on the human tissue sample. Beside her, researcher Minho carefully recorded data on his tablet. Look at this cellular structure, Dr. Suk said, her voice filled with wonder. The regeneration rate exceeds all known species by a factor of 3. Minho leaned closer. And the way their muscles store energy is unlike anything I've seen before. The door slid open and Elena entered. She had fully recovered from her injuries during the rescue operation, a fact that still amazed the alien scientists. She now served as their primary liaison and had volunteered for their research program. How are you feeling today? Dr. Suk asked, studying Elena's movements for any signs of lingering damage. Completely fine, Elena replied with a smile. The doctor said I healed faster than expected. Faster than they expected, perhaps, Minho muttered. But we're beginning to expect the unexpected from humans. Dr. Suk motioned Elena to the examination table. We'd like to run some endurance tests today if you're willing. Elena nodded, and soon she was running on a specialized treadmill while the aliens monitored every aspect of her physiology. After 40 minutes at a pace that would exhaust most species, Elena showed only minimal fatigue. Your thermal regulation system is remarkably efficient, Dr. Suk noted, watching the heat signatures on her monitor. You sweat to cool down, yet you maintain precise internal temperature control. Is that unusual? Elena asked between steady breaths. Very, Minho confirmed. Most species either have poor temperature control or complex biological systems dedicated solely to that function. Your system is elegantly simple, yet effective. After the tests, Dr. Suk shared their findings with the rest of the research team. Jin projected images of human cellular structures alongside those of other species for comparison. What truly distinguishes humans isn't any single attribute, Dr. Suk explained. Other species might excel in strength or intelligence, but humans possess this unusual balance of endurance, adaptability, and determination. Tay raised a question. Could it be environmental adaptation? Their planet has extreme climate variations. Precisely my thinking, Dr. Suk agreed. We need to observe them in different environments. Over the next month, the research team traveled around Earth with special permission from human governments. They observed Arctic researchers working in sub-zero temperatures, desert guides walking for days with minimal water, and mountain climbers ascending peaks where oxygen levels were dangerously low for most species. On a particularly hot day in a region called the Sahara, Dr. Suk watched in amazement as human guides led them across endless sand dunes. The temperature reached 45 degrees Celsius, yet the humans maintained a steady pace, drinking water sparingly. How much farther can you walk today? She asked their guide, a man named Khalid. As far as needed, he replied simply. Another 20 kilometers is no problem. Minho checked his scanner in disbelief. He's already walked 30 kilometers today. Most species would require rest cycles by now. Later that evening, as the research team reviewed their data in their cooling tent, Dr. Suk made an important connection. I've been examining historical records, she said. Early humans hunted by something called persistence hunting, They couldn't outrun their prey, but they could outlast them. They would chase animals until the creatures collapsed from exhaustion. "That's disturbing," Jin commented. "But revealing," Dr. Suk insisted. "No other intelligent species we've encountered evolved this way. They all developed either superior strength, speed, or tools first. Humans developed endurance." The team continued their research in the oceans, watching freedivers descend to depths that should have crushed their lungs. They observed emergency, workers laboring for days with minimal sleep after natural disasters. They studied human medical records showing recovery from injuries that would be fatal to most species. On their final research day, they witnessed a human sporting event called a marathon, where participants ran 42.2 kilometers voluntarily, for no reason other than personal challenge. As they watched hundreds of humans pushing themselves to their physical limits, Dr. Suk finally understood what made humans truly different. "It's their persistence that's most remarkable," she concluded, making final notes in her research log. "They evolved on a harsh, unpredictable planet with extreme conditions. Where other species specialized for specific environments, humans adapted to endure almost anything. They simply refuse to stop even when all biological warning systems tell them they should." Minho nodded thoughtfully. "Which raises an interesting question, Doctor." "What's that? If this is what they do in peacetime for sport, what might humans be capable of when truly tested?" The emergency signal blared through the corridors of Outpost 11, a Confederation research station orbiting a distant star. Red lights flashed as crew members rushed to their emergency stations. Station Commander Hyun's voice echoed through the communication system, unusually tense. "All personnel, this is not a drill. Environmental systems are failing on levels 3 through 7. Radiation levels are rising. All non-essential personnel must evacuate immediately." In the command center, screens displayed the approaching disaster. A massive solar flare had damaged the station's protective shields and radiation containment systems. Communications Officer June worked frantically at his console, his blue fingers flying across the controls. "Commander, I've contacted the nearest Confederation vessels," June reported. "The closest ship is 4 days away at maximum speed." Hyun's expression darkened. "The radiation will reach fatal levels in less than 2 days." The doors to the command center slid open, and Dr. Suk entered with her research team. They had been visiting the station to present their findings on human physiology to the Confederation Science Council. "What's the situation?" Dr. Suk asked, immediately sensing the tension. Commander Hyun quickly explained the crisis. The station housed vital research on stellar formation that represented decades of work. The data cores needed to be physically removed and transferred to a secure containment unit. But the radiation levels in the storage area were already too high for most species to tolerate. "We've tried sending drones," Hyun said, "but the radiation interferes with their systems. They fail within minutes." June added more bad news. "The radiation storm will prevent any rescue ships from approaching for at least 6 days. By then, the data will be corrupted beyond recovery." Dr. Suk exchanged a meaningful look with her team. For 3 months they had studied human physiology and capabilities. She stepped forward. "Commander, I believe there might be a solution," she said, carefully. "The humans we've been studying might be able to withstand these conditions long enough to retrieve the data and repair the primary systems." Commander Hyun looked skeptical. "No sentient species can survive those radiation levels for more than a few hours." "Humans can," Dr. Suk insisted. "Their bodies process radiation differently than ours. Their cellular repair mechanisms are remarkably efficient, and more importantly, their determination might carry them through where others would fail." Hyun frowned. "You're suggesting we ask these humans to risk their lives for our research?" "I'm suggesting we present them with the situation and let them decide," Dr. Suk replied. "Based on our observations, I believe they will volunteer." After a tense discussion among the station's leadership, they agreed to contact the human delegation that had accompanied Dr. Suk to the station. Elena and 4 other humans had come as representatives to discuss potential cooperation between humans and the Confederation. When the situation was explained to them in the conference room, the humans asked detailed questions about the radiation levels, the time required for the mission, and the importance of the research. This research contains data on stellar formation that could help prevent similar disasters in the future, Dr. Suk explained. It represents 20 years of work by some of our finest scientists. The humans stepped aside to discuss among themselves. Their conversation lasted less than 5 minutes before they returned. "We'll do it," Elena said simply. Commander Hyun seemed surprised by their quick decision. "You understand the risks? The radiation levels are well above what we consider survivable." One of the other humans, a technician named Marcus, stepped forward. "We've reviewed your data. The exposure will be intense but not immediately fatal. To us, we can work in shifts to minimize individual exposure." Another human, an engineer named Ria, added, "Our medical technology can treat radiation sickness if we keep exposure times limited." Dr. Suk watched this exchange with scientific interest. The humans were not dismissing the danger. They understood it clearly, but they were calculating risks and making plans rather than rejecting the mission as impossible. The station's medical officer, Dr. Min, voiced his concerns. "Even if you survive the initial exposure, the long-term effects could be severe. We don't have enough data on human radiation response to predict outcomes." Elena smiled slightly. "We've been taking risks and facing unknowns throughout our entire history. This is no different." As the humans began preparing for the mission, Dr. Suk helped them adapt Confederation protective gear to their bodies. The suits would provide some protection, but not enough for complete safety. Commander Hyun approached Dr. Suk as she worked. "Are you certain about this? If these humans die trying to save our research..." "They understand the risks better than we do," Dr. Suk replied. "And I've learned something important about humans in my research. They are never stronger than when they're helping others." As the humans donned their modified protective suits, the station's warning systems sounded again. The radiation levels were rising faster than predicted. Time was running out. The airlock door sealed with a hiss behind the 5 humans. They stood in the small chamber, dressed in modified Confederation protective suits that glowed with a faint blue light. The suits had been designed for different body types and offered only partial protection against the radiation that now flooded the damaged sections of the station. "Communications check," Marcus said, adjusting his helmet. His voice came through clearly on the team's private channel. "Receiving you," Elena confirmed, followed by similar responses from Ria, David, and Jay. In the monitoring room, Dr. Suk watched anxiously through multiple camera feeds. The environmental displays showed alarming readings: temperature approaching 50° C, radiation levels climbing steadily, and oxygen levels at only 17% of normal. "The inner door will open in 10 seconds, Commander Hyun announced over the communication system. "Remember, your primary objective is to retrieve the data cores from Research Lab 4. If possible, attempt to stabilize the environmental systems, but do not take unnecessary risks." "Understood," Marcus replied calmly. "Opening inner door now." As the door slid open, the humans faced a corridor bathed in red emergency lighting. The air shimmered with heat and warning symbols flashed on their suit displays, indicating dangerous radiation levels. "Stay together," Marcus instructed as they moved forward. "Jay and David focus on the environmental controls. Elena, Ria, and I will secure the data cores." They moved efficiently through the damaged section, their breathing steady despite the rising heat. Dr. Suk monitored their vital signs with growing concern. The radiation was affecting them more quickly than she had anticipated. "Temperature is approaching 50°C, Dr. Suk warned through the communication system. "Oxygen levels continuing to drop." "Understood," Marcus replied, his voice betraying no stress. "We've worked in worse conditions." The alien scientists exchanged glances of disbelief. The humans were already experiencing radiation exposure that would incapacitate most Confederation species, yet they continued to function normally. 6. Hours into the mission, the first signs of radiation sickness appeared. Elena stumbled slightly, then quickly regained her balance. Elena, your readings indicate early radiation poisoning, Dr. Suk said urgently. You should return to the safe zone. Not yet, Elena replied. We've almost reached the data cores. In Research Lab 4, the three humans worked methodically to disconnect the massive data storage units. Each core weighed nearly 40 kilograms and contained irreplaceable research data. As they worked, Jay and David reported progress from the environmental control room. We've managed to stabilize oxygen levels, David reported, but the radiation shielding is damaged beyond our ability to repair with available tools. The mission continued hour after hour. The humans worked in shifts, with one returning to the safe zone to rest while the others continued. Dr. Suk watched in amazement as they worked continuously for nearly 30 hours, taking only brief rest periods while their teammates pressed. During the 28th hour, a new alarm sounded. The station's core began to show signs of destabilization, threatening a catastrophic failure that would destroy the entire station. The containment field is failing, Commander Hyun announced, his voice tight with stress. We need to evacuate everyone immediately. In the environmental control room, Rhea studied the readouts with intense focus. The field could be realigned manually, she said. There's an access panel in Section 12 that would allow direct interface with the containment systems. Dr. Suk checked the radiation readings for Section 12 and felt a chill. The radiation levels there are beyond survivable limits. The exposure would be... She paused, searching for words the humans would understand. Fatal within minutes. A moment of silence followed on the communication channel. I'll go, Rhea said finally. The rest of you focus on getting the data cores to safety. Despite protests from both her teammates and the Confederation staff, Rhea made her way to Section 12. The monitoring screen showed her radiation exposure climbing to terrifying levels as she worked on the containment field controls. Her cellular structure is breaking down, Minho whispered, watching the medical readings. How is she still functioning? Dr. Suk had no answer. By all their understanding of biology, Rhea should have collapsed already. Yet the human continued, working, her movements becoming slower but never stopping. After 17 minutes in the lethal radiation zone, Rhea's voice came through the communication system, weak but triumphant. Containment field realigned, core stabilizing. The indicators on the main display gradually shifted from red to yellow. The immediate danger had passed. When the rescue team reached Rhea, they found her unconscious, but still alive. As they rushed her to the medical bay, Dr. Suk turned to Minho with wonder in her eyes. Their physiology alone doesn't explain this, she said quietly. It's something deeper, something in their psychology that refuses to accept failure. Minho nodded slowly. Perhaps that's the real mystery of humans. Not just how their bodies function, but how their minds drive them beyond what should be possible. In the medical bay, the human team gathered around their injured comrade as the Confederation doctors worked to treat her massive radiation exposure. Despite their own injuries and exhaustion, not one of them had abandoned the mission. All 5 data cores had been saved, and the station's systems were stabilizing. Commander Hyun stood in the doorway, watching the humans with new respect. I've never seen anything like it, he said softly to Dr. Suk. They should not have succeeded. That, replied Dr. Suk, is precisely what makes humans different. The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation sparkled with light reflected from its crystal dome ceiling. 200 representatives from across the galaxy sat in tiered seats, their diverse forms creating a living tapestry of galactic life. At the center of the chamber stood Dr. Suk, her formal scientific robes shimmering with subtle blue patterns as she completed her presentation. Behind her, a large screen displayed detailed images of human physiology alongside data from the outpost. 11 incident. The room had fallen completely silent as she spoke, something rare in council proceedings. In conclusion, Dr. Suk said, her voice clear and confident, humans evolved on a planet with extreme environmental variations, from Arctic regions to scorching deserts, from mountain peaks to ocean depths. Their world forced adaptations no other sentient species has developed. She gestured to a comparison chart. Where other species specialized for specific conditions, humans generalized. They aren't the strongest, fastest, or even the most intelligent species we've encountered. But they possess something unique. They adapt where others would perish. Council Elder Han, one of the oldest members of the Confederation, leadership leaned forward. His scaled skin caught the light as he studied the medical data with interest. These recovery rates from radiation exposure, he said, pointing to Ria's medical charts, they seem impossible. And yet they are verified, Dr. Suk replied. The human called Ria survived radiation levels that would have killed any known species. She is fully recovered and shows minimal lasting damage. A representative from the water worlds of a quarry raised a webbed hand. Could it be a genetic anomaly? Perhaps this individual is unique among her species? A reasonable question, Dr. Suk acknowledged. But no, we've tested tissue samples from humans across their planet. While there is normal genetic variation, these resilience factors appear consistent throughout their species. What's more, their historical records show countless examples of similar endurance under extreme conditions. She switched the display to show humans working in various environments, fighting fires, diving to ocean depths, climbing mountains without oxygen, surviving in frozen wastelands. Their planet's varied and often hostile environments created selection pressures unlike any other world we've studied, Dr. Suk continued. But there's more to it than mere physical adaptation. Humans possess a psychological drive that allows them to continue functioning past biological warning signs. The chamber filled with murmurs as the representatives discussed this information among themselves. Council Elder Han raised his hand for silence. And you believe this makes them valuable allies? He asked, his ancient eyes studying Dr. Suk carefully. I believe it makes them essential allies, Dr. Suk replied firmly. Environments that would kill most of us are merely challenging to them. They can endure pain, exhaustion, and environmental extremes through sheer determination. The rescue of our research at Outpost 11 is just one example of what they can accomplish. The council debated for hours after Dr. Suk's presentation. Representatives raised concerns about integrating such a young species into galactic society. Others worried about human aggression, noting their violent history. But the evidence of their unique abilities was undeniable. Finally, Elder Han called for a vote. The result was unanimous, a rarity in council decisions. Humans would be granted a new classification, adaptive crisis specialists, with special standing in the Confederation. As the council members filed out of the chamber, Dr. Suk was approached by Tae, who had been observing from the gallery. Congratulations, he said. Your research has changed how the galaxy views humans. Their actions changed how the galaxy views them, Dr. Suk corrected. I merely documented what they did. Tae handed her a data tablet. I've received a message from Earth. The humans have heard about the climate crisis on Proxima Colony. Dr. Suk looked at the message with surprise. Proxima Colony was suffering from atmospheric degradation that made its air toxic to most species. The Confederation had been struggling to find a solution for years. The humans have volunteered a team of environmental engineers, Tae continued. They believe they can develop a biological solution to the toxicity. But the atmospheric conditions on Proxima would kill most species within hours, Dr. Suk said. Tae smiled slightly. Exactly why they believe they're the right species for the job. As they walked toward the transit station, Dr. Suk's communication device chimed. It was Elena, now serving as Earth's official representative to the Confederation. We heard about the Council's decision, Elena said, her image smiling on the small screen. And about the Proxima situation. Our team is ready to depart whenever you give the approval. The conditions there are far worse than at Outpost 11, Dr. Suk warned. Even with your remarkable adaptability, it will be extremely dangerous. Elena's smile didn't waver. That's precisely why we're going. The people of Proxima need help that only we can provide. As Dr. Suk ended the call, she felt a strange mix of concern and confidence. She had spent months studying humans, yet they still surprised her. Send them our acceptance, she told Tay. And our gratitude. The galaxy is about to discover why humans truly are built differently. The next day, as the human ship departed for Proxima Colony, Dr. Sook added a final note to her research. Perhaps the most remarkable thing about humans is not that they can endure what others cannot, but that they willingly choose to do so for the benefit of others.